Today on FSI, we are going to be breaking down the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers from a betting perspective. Now, we're currently 27-8 in our official moves, and we're over 70%, so make sure you follow that account. Now, I'm your host, Tom Cross, and to my right is our analytics expert, Stephen Fu.
Thanks for tuning in this week. The Niners are on the road as a 2.5-point favorite. They're minus 145 on the money line, and the Cowboys, they're plus 125.
The spread in this game is correct. Now, there's a lot of hype around the Cowboys because they won the Super Bowl last week, and Andy Dalton beat the Bengals. No, I'm just kidding. But it is something to look at. You know, they are coming off a win, so I feel like there is a little bit more hype on the Dallas Cowboys than the San Francisco 49ers because of the recent games. The 49ers have struggled.
The San Francisco 49ers had an 8-point loss against their Week 14 matchup. Even though they had double the amount of passing yards, they still weren't able to overcome that Washington defense. Now with the Cowboys, they did have an impressive 30-point win against Cincinnati, and they only held them to one touchdown.
Now, Nick Mullins, he's definitely a backup quarterback. He hasn't been able to get the job done against Buffalo or the Washington football team. Now, his grades over the last couple of games have been at a C level. So he is an average quarterback. He's not a liability. And I guess that's a positive for the 49ers.
Andy Dalton has put out multiple touchdown games in back-to-back weeks. Being up against his former team did benefit him on the offensive side. He had no turnovers, 69% completion percentage, and throwing for 8 yards per pass. However, the Bengals defense is not comparable for this week's matchup.
The San Francisco 49ers offensive line did get dominated last week against the Washington football team that has a very good defensive pass rush. Good news for them, they're not going to be facing them. They're going to be facing the Dallas Cowboys that have a below average pass rush, but they still got some talent on that defensive line, so I got to give an advantage here to the Cowboys.
The offensive line of Dallas has not been a top-tier pass protection for multiple years. They're allowing a sack rate of 6.4%, which is above the league average, but still nothing to rave about. However, the San Francisco 49ers are without Joey Bosa for the remainder of the season. He was the premier pass rusher, and that Niners defensive line is suffering without him.
Now, when we look at the San Francisco 49ers weapons, they got some good weapons on the outside. Brandon Nacou and, of course, Deebo Samuel. Now, when I sit here and I look at the Dallas secondary, they're much better than they were at the beginning of the season, but they still are below average, so I got to give a slight advantage here to the 49ers.
The Cowboys have one of the best receiving corps in the league. Their top 3 receivers consist of Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and rookie CeeDee Lamb. And while the performance numbers have taken a hit since the injury of Dak Prescott, their ability to create separation is still very impressive. It will be difficult this week for the Cowboys receivers because they're up against the top 5 49ers pass defense.
For the 49ers, their rushing attack is very instrumental in how they move the football. So I looked at the Cowboys and how they play against good rushing teams over the season, and they've been god-awful. So I got to give an advantage here for the 49ers. They should be able to move the ball running, and it should open up the pass game.
The highest paid running back in the league, Zeke Elliott, has not performed well since 2018. Seems like he's not even the same player anymore. He doesn't have speed or power when he runs, so his role on this Dallas offense is non-existent.
The San Francisco 49ers are in a strong position here because they're better on the offense and defensive side. Now, when you look at the 49ers linebackers, they got great linebackers, they got a good secondary, and they got an adequate pass rush. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they are weak against the run, and their secondary is suspect. So I got to close my eyes here and take the 49ers. I would take them on the money line because those backdoor covers have been crazy this time of year.
The Dallas Cowboys are not great on offense or defense this season. And before that Dak Prescott injury, they had the #1 passed offense in the league. But Andy Dalton cannot match that output. While the Niners are far from the championship contending year, they still do have a good pass defense and run offense. I'm taking the 49ers -2.5 here.
Now remember, we can't predict PEDs, injuries, the weather, or COVID-19 results, so make sure you follow our Twitter for our official moves. We're 27-8 there. Now that's it for us. Do me a favor, smash the like button and subscribe, and tell us who you're going to be taking in the comments below.
We don't care about favorite teams here. Our focus is on making you money. Follow our social media on Twitter, Instagram, or our webpage. The links are below.